Today let's learn to use the same threading search on handweaving.net. We've added some really cool capabilities to this recently, and this video will show you how to use all of them. So first let's start with a draft that's already on the site. Let's use number 31769. There it is. So if you're like me, you'd rather spend your time weaving than warping, and this feature is all about finding more than one draft that can be woven on the same threading without having to rewarp the loom. You can just change the tie-up or the treadling to weave more than one different thing. So for this particular draft, when I click the Actions button, it will show that the same threading feature found 13 other drafts that have the exact same threading, and that's this right here. So let's look at those. And here they are. So if I had this one threaded, I could weave any of these just by changing the tie-up and or the treadling. So let's go back and look at some other options. When I hit the View button, it shows that this draft can be rethreaded. So I can choose a straight threading or a point threading. I'll choose point. And now you can see that the threading was converted to point. So if I had this threading on my loom, now I can find 518 other drafts on the site that have the same threading or could be converted to have a point threading. So they use a 6 shafts. So let's click that. And here they are. And the first few that come up at least don't have the point threading directly, but they could. Watch, if I choose the first one and then I turn it and then I hit point threading, there it is, a 6 shaft point threading. So that's why that's in the search results. Let's go back and we'll look through a few of the other ones. So these are all things that could be woven on that same 6 shaft point threading. Okay, so now let's look at how you might find the same threading for a draft that isn't on handweaving.net. And this is the stuff that's all new. So if I click Search for Drafts, underneath the Drafts menu, Drafts, Search for Drafts, and search by threading. Now I can either input a threading by hand or I can upload one from a WIF file. So let's input one by hand first. I will choose 8 shafts and maybe 14 warp threads. And we'll enter in 8 shaft point threading by hand. Watch. So you just click these boxes to enter the threading. You can enter any threading you want. It doesn't have to be point. I'm just using that as an example. There. So now we'll click Find Drafts with the same threading. And up come drafts that either have the 8 shaft point threading directly, like this one, or could be converted to have it, like this one. So I'll click it, and I'll choose View and point threading, and there we go. So let's do another one. We'll hit Drafts, search for drafts, search by threading. Now this time we'll also choose 8 shafts, and I'll choose 16 warp threads. We'll hit Enter Threading, and I'll enter a different style of threading. Maybe like this. And like that. There. Now we'll hit Find Drafts with same threading. And up they come. So any of these, if I had that threading on my loom, could be woven without changing the warp. Okay, let's enter one more. This time we'll choose 4 shafts, and maybe I'll choose 10 warp threads, and we'll just enter a straight threading. What I'm trying to show here is that it's okay to leave empty threads at the end. If you choose more than you need, you don't have to use them all. So if I hit Find Drafts with same threading, here they are. Now let's say you have a project on your loom already warped, and maybe the draft came from somewhere else and you have it in a WIF file. So let's do that. We'll hit drafts, search for drafts, search by threading, and then we'll hit choose WIF file. And it will let me upload a file from my computer. We'll browse to it, which is right here. We'll choose open. And there's the threading. So if I hit find drafts with same threading, here they are. There are 10 in all. And if I had any of these warped, I could weave any of the other ones. So that's it. I hope you learned something from this video, and thank you for watching.